Hey everyone, it's the Spinsters Union. Welcome back to our Bachelorette's recap. It's season 13, it's episode 7. We are still in Europe. I am Juliet, and along with Dee Dee.
I'm Dee Dee. Hi.
Hi. So Camila's off, so it's going to be the two of us recapping last night's episode.
Boy.
So, what did you think of the episode last night?
First of all, why have I never been to Switzerland? It's absolutely spectacular. I wish I were there.
Yes.
What an incredibly romantic place to find your potential husband and 86 a few people who aren't.
Right. It definitely, I'm sure for maybe the men, it took the sting out of like being dismissed. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Right, but it's definitely a great place to fall in love. Yeah, I mean, if you want to fall in love, go to Europe, not to like Newark. Sorry, sorry for those who live in Newark.
Not very nice. Not very nice. Actually, you can fall in love anywhere. I think maybe, but that's
really, Dee Dee.
it's definitely very picturesque. So I thought it was. I'm glad to be getting down to the meat of it. I definitely am enjoying these episodes more, and I'm sure the picturesque scenery has a lot to do with it. It's nice to be able to see the guys in like not these stupid, trumped up scenarios that the producers put them in, like a wrestling match or spelling bee. Even though I did love that spelling bee, it made me so happy. So. They start off with the date with Brian, right? The Colombian.
Right, yeah, the Colombian guy who has been a front runner since episode like 1. When he gave her that big juicy kiss. So he's still in it to win it.
I gotta say, I've also dated a Colombian man. Yes, he was every bit as sort of romantic and smooth and straightforward. I don't know. There was something super magical about him and how we dated. It was almost like poetry in motion. It was so I get the Brian appeal. Plus, he's super, super cute. But I'm wondering, and he looks so good in a suit. Can we just talk about how good this man looks in a suit?
Yeah, so on their date, they had like a high class date, and he was able to drive a Bentley, and that Bentley was looking good. They were both looking good. Rachel was all in white. She was looking awesome. And then they went to that watch store, Breitling, right? To buy that beautiful watch. Yeah, it was very high class, very high class.
Well, I mean, how are you not going to love being on a date where you're being driven around in a Bentley and you get a free, $30,000, $40,000 watch? That's kind of my dream date, I think.
Right, exactly. But back at the house, the hateration was strong. Especially with Adam, who has not gotten a one-on-one date, and he was really, really upset about that, and he was not happy because this is Brian. This is his second one-on-one date.
Well, I can understand why she'd want to be around Brian. I'd want to be around Brian. He does sort of always say the right thing, and her not guard, or I don't want to say suspicion, but she talks about like, how is he so perfect? How is he so, how is he still single and he's so great? And I mean, one could say that about any of us single people who are so great.
Why are you single? Right.
Exactly. The age-old question, why are you still single if you're so great?
Right.
Do you have any suspicions or just questions about that? Can he be too good to be true? Can he be too perfect?
Perhaps so. So a little bit later in the episode, Dean brought up something, and Dean is younger. I think he's like 26, 27. And he said, well, can you really can you trust this guy? He's 37 and has been single for all this time, whining and dining women. So he's obviously very good at that, you know. So I don't know. And one of our viewers has, I'm sure she'll, you know, respond to this video. She has definitely a strong opinion and does not trust Brian. I don't know. Like, I'm not getting like a flashing red light about him, but I am kind of like, he does always say the right things, and I feel are a little bit more genuine than he is. So,
what do you suppose happened with the girlfriend and the mom? Or was that the fiance where he just said it doesn't allude to the falling out that they had at that wedding? What do you suppose?
Right. So, yeah. So Brian told Rachel about his ex-girlfriend, his last relationship, and took her to a wedding in Colombia. And yeah, he doesn't say that they had a fight, that the girlfriend and the mom had a fight, but when she got back, she broke up with him because of the mother. And the mother was very upset and hurt. So I don't know, like, yeah, what could have happened that would make the girlfriend break up with him and cite the reason that it's your mother? I don't know. He didn't say. And it didn't seem like he wasn't blaming the girlfriend, but he didn't seem to be necessarily on her side about the whole issue. He said he saw some things in her that kind of raised his suspicion about her. So
yeah, he wanted, and it was important that the girlfriend and the family get along and all of that. And it is important. You know, people can say you're marrying the person, not their family, but clearly that's not true. You're definitely marrying the family, and
right,
shenanigans that come, right, blending families.
That
I actually have to say that, again, I like Brian. I like their date. Obviously, that was a great product placement for Breitling. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. But there's something about that date with, I think Peter was the next date, right? Where they went on the dog sled and the ride overlooking the Alps.
Well, actually, Dean was the next date.
Oh, Dean. Oh,
right.
Dean.
Right. And bringing up, again, family issues, because the next date after this, the next episode is going to be hometown visits. And so Dean and Rachel were hanging out in Geneva on a Sunday. They went to church and just, there wasn't much going on.
Yeah, I mean, one guy gets a $30,000-$40,000 watch and gets to drive a Bentley, and the next guy gets to go to church. Well,
right, exactly. I mean,
is that any indication as to who she likes more?
Well, yeah, I think so. But she said, "Oh, I just love dates like this when we're just walking around exploring something with someone new." But yeah, there wasn't much to the date. They were just kind of wandering around. They kind of made their own entertainment, which is actually maybe it is something great about Dean, that he doesn't need to have this kind of orchestrated date. You know, they had a great time with basically nothing to do, you know, and on the Brian date, you know, there was definitely things. If you're not excited about driving a Bentley, then I don't know what will excite you, you know, so especially for a man, But bringing up family again, Dean was kind of acting weird during the date because he is hesitant to bring Rachel home to his family. What did you think about that?
I think it's nerve-wracking for anybody, even if your parents aren't a little eccentric or weird or and he also, because he's younger, probably hasn't really figured out where to maybe compartmentalize or place a lot of those emotions and issues that he may have with his family. Like, he hasn't had a chance to sort of work on them in the way that somebody who's like 37 might come to certain realizations about their nutty family, that somebody when you're 24, 25, 26, I mean, you're still really figuring out who you are. And I can understand that. But I have to say, Rachel has this way of drawing things out of people that I'm literally taking notes. I feel like I'm not so good at like maybe probing a little deeper about family issues or concerns. And I think she just did that in such a beautiful way that got him to open up, where he felt safe and he was allowing himself to be vulnerable. I have to say, overall, that is one of the things that I'm loving about the show now, is getting to see these guys and also her be a little more vulnerable and open, and authentic. And I think nothing probably does that better than the thought of introducing your possible significant other to your family, because you know they know you best.
Right, exactly. And even if you don't have a whole lot of issues or whatever, where it's not this kind of, show dynamic, it still is nerve-wracking, because you're like, are they going to like him? Or my family going to, are they going to get along? Is there going to be some chemistry between my family and him? It was great that she was able to open him up. And you're right, she does have a great way. And she was very honest, like, this is, what's going on. And he was trying to deflect a lot with his little humor. And she's like, okay, I do that too. I see what you're doing. And so she called him on his stuff, but did it in a way that didn't make him retreat even further, So, I mean, that is a gift. And honestly, I'm still working on that too. How do you call, and she was calling herself out too. So, I mean, that was good,
Yeah, we both can take a lot of inspiration and just, legitimate notes from how she handles them. I sort of maybe I'll go back and watch some of those other Bachelorettes. I doubt it, but as a point of reference, it just seems like she does have something really, really special about her in the ways that she deals with them. And I really appreciate that. But on a side note, have you ever brought a guy home that you were really nervous about meeting nervous about them meeting your parents? I dated a guy once who sort of, and the way that I got around this, of them actually meeting, was that he lived long distance and we were kind of, I don't know, off and on, whatever. And he's an atheist. And my parents are super religious, as you will imagine, considering I'm from Alabama. I'm not so religious, much to my parents' dismay, especially my parents. But I was always nervous about what's going to happen if I ever introduce my atheist boyfriend to my, Jesus-loving
mom. Right. Yeah. A few times, but no, I had actually quite a few long distance relationships too. Maybe we should talk about that another time, about how that happened. So yeah, there were some ooh, well, okay, that's not going to happen. I don't have to worry about it until it gets to a certain point. But yeah, it is nerve-wracking, and because your parents want the best for you, and sometimes your parents don't think anybody is really good, So, and I've definitely introduced people to my parents, and maybe my dad might like the guy, my mom doesn't, and or vice versa. Or both of them are yeah, no, not really impressed by him. So yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, the next episode is going to be really good, looking at the hometown dates.
It's going to be great. It's going to be
great.
Yeah.
So Peter is the last one who got a one-on-one date with Rachel. And she said, I think he was the one. No, he didn't have the first and last. No, he did. Peter was the guy who had the first one-on-one date, and he had the last one-on-one date, opener and closer. How about that? What do you think about their date?
Well, I think that Peter's the one she's going to end up engaged to, because it looks like the producers have gone out of their way to create a lot of doubt in the next steps, and we should maybe take bets on who it's gonna be. Some sort of, I don't know, I'll bet you a margarita next time I see you or something.
Yeah.
But I really, I'm still, I do have one question, and that is, what did he just ghost on the woman that he was dating? Is that what the problem was? Or did she kill herself? I didn't
know. So apparently they were living together, and he said there wasn't a fight or anything, dramatic that happened. It's just they drifted apart. And so, I think it kind of felt like he was saying they jointly made the decision to end it, but it was kind of more him. And so he was recounting how the last time he saw her, which they creatively cut to make it sound like it was about Rachel and not about his ex-girlfriend. He said, you know, I packed my stuff and and I'm about to drive away, and I look back and tears are streaming down her face, and I drive away. And he said, you know, I did that to her. And he said it took him a long time to get over it, even though he knew that the relationship wasn't going to work. He felt guilty about abandoning her, and he started to tear up. I don't think clearly there was she knew that he was leaving because he drove away.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if he was like, I'm going out for a pack of cigarettes and some milk.
No. and then you still forget
come back. So I was like, what happened here?
No, she knew, but she wasn't ready. And, you know, I mean, I think it's hard when you're in a relationship that maybe you're not sure is going to work, but there's no real reason to be like, he beats me or he's cheated on me or, you know, anything, you know, that you're like, well, clearly that is a reason to break up with someone. If there's a lot of little things, then it's harder to like say, you know, I shouldn't, you know, to leave the relationship, you know? So I think actually what Peter experiences probably happens a whole lot more than like dramatic breakups, you know? I think that's more real life. And then because you still kind of don't have that one big reason that you can point to, like clearly they're a horrible person, and it can make you feel kind of like, geez, did I just not try enough? Was I not, you know, was I not really in it enough? So I can understand why he felt guilty about it. But the fact that he got emotional about it, and I don't know how long ago this was, but it did make me wonder, is he over her? Maybe he doesn't want to necessarily get back to her, but we've all had exes, even though you know logically, no, I should not get back with him. There is something that is still like there haunts you, you know, like the ghost of ex past can haunt you for years, honestly, you know, unless you really exorcise those demons.
I actually came face to face with one of mine this week, and it was jarring, even though he's clearly since moved on. I've clearly since moved on, but it was very jarring. And it was sort of like, oh, you know, not, and he might or may not be the devil's handmaiden. I'm not sure, but it felt like that when we were sort of, I guess, involved. But it can be. It does. Sometimes you do have those residual feelings. And it's not that like, oh, I think that I should have been with that person. It's just more like, I wonder what may have happened if all the stars had lined up and he wasn't the devil's handmaiden. I don't know. I will say that I really...
Right.
I will say that I loved their date. They do have Peter and Rachel have this intimacy, and I definitely see the chemistry and passion that she has with Brian. I think Dean is about probably 6 or 7 years from being the kind of being mature enough to be in a relationship with a woman like her. But I see something in her connection and relationship with Peter, even on the outtake when they were on the dog sled. Like even their date was just so romantic and beautiful. And I mean, who doesn't want to go dog sledding in the Swiss Alps, snuggled in a blanket with a man that you're really super attracted to and you get on great with, and you just feel like, I guess, maybe your best self, because it feels like that's how she's feeling about him. What do you think?
Yeah, I do definitely think they have intimacy that is forced. It's like with Brian, she and Brian, like their chemistry, their physical chemistry is definitely off the charts. I mean, they were making out in that watch store, which was a little bit uncomfortable. I was like, okay, y'all, this is actually a store, okay? And then with Dean, yeah, it's more they have a good time together, but there's not that like spark. And with Peter, I feel like they have that spark, but it's not solely resting on the physical chemistry. So it feels deeper than the other two. And yeah, an awesome date. And, you know, she talked to him about the hometown dates, and he revealed that she's the first Black woman that he's ever dated, which I actually wonder how many of the men, if this is, you know, how many of them this is their first Black girlfriend or, you know, woman that they dated. So I wasn't necessarily surprised at that. He thought that his family would love her and vice versa. But that will be interesting to see the dynamics. I think that the next episode you'll see more racial dynamics, even with Rachel's family. So that should be interesting to see.
Agreed. That is going to be very telling. I think that, you know, I think they tried to stay, for the most part, away from the race scenario, except for that stupid scenario with Lee. I wonder that she hasn't asked that question of Brian or Dean. I mean, certainly she could even ask that question of, oh gosh, what's his name? The last brother standing.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Eric. I mean, certainly there are probably quite a few, you know, Black men who
right. Well, and
may or may not date Black women, and that might be one.
In the previous episode, Will revealed that Rachel wasn't his, you know, type that he usually dates, meaning she's Black, and Will is Black. So yeah, oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, that was interesting that came out as well. But talking about Eric, Matt, and Aunt Adam went on the the executioner's date. I mean, it was just horrible. They were like, 3 men will go in, only 1 will come out. I mean, it was horrible. You're like, look to your left, look to your right. One of these guys is not going to come back.
2 of these guys, not
right. 2 of these guys, right.
Oh my God. I knew that she was going to end up sending, was his name Matt, the one with the beard?
Right, and he's kind of balding a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't feel it. I did think that the other one with the really beautiful blue eyes, I'm sorry, I can't remember this. Adam. I felt like Adam made a stronger case for himself, and frankly, if I wonder if she kept Eric because she just wanted to keep a Black man on the show. Not the case. But I was like, given everything that he said, he's also 29 years old, or he's never brought a girl home, and I'm not judging him for that, but he just seemed to be a little less emotionally mature and ready for what she's ready for. And his family scenario seemed, you know, honestly not so great. Whereas I feel like Adam was painting this really beautiful scenario about his family and he's ready for these next steps. And I guess she just doesn't have the chemistry with him. So maybe that's the reason. Do you suppose that she kept Eric around as like the token Black guy?
I mean, it briefly crossed my mind, but she has had chemistry with him. I mean, Eric has had a one-on-one date.
Super cute.
Yeah. So last week when Camille and I recap, we did our Bachelorette Brackology, our brackets. And I did not have Eric in my final 4. Camille did. And she said, yes, we both agree, like you said, he's at a different plane. He needs some years of maturing. Or not even maturing, of experiencing, opening himself up, being in a relationship, because he's a very close person. You can understand considering his history. I mean, he said, you know, he's never seen his mom and dad together. So many of the members of his family are on drugs or have been in jail. So, I mean, he's had a hard life, you know, and it hasn't been able to really trust people. But that's sad and difficult. But I don't know if Rachel's down for that kind of work in order to get him ready to be her husband. But she does really like him. And I think she probably needs to see more. I think that home visit is probably going to be the most interesting. I mean, because what is that going to look like? I mean, I don't know if his father's still in jail or I don't know what. I mean, like, what is that going to look like? But Yeah, the other guys, Matt, I think if she was really interested, he would have shined a little earlier. It's kind of the latched effort, and I didn't see him breaking through at that point. And I mean, Adam. And then Matt, she said, it was so nice how she broke up with him. It was the sweetest breakup ever. You know, how she said, oh, you remind me of myself. And if we had more time, and I was like, oh, she's breaking up with him. Maybe things would have worked out. But yeah, I don't know. I think that special spark, whatever that, you know, that physical chemistry, I don't think was there in the same way as it is for Eric.
I get it. I think Eric is a super good looking guy. I think this has probably been a super transformative experience. I mean, clearly for him, given he's been, you know, so closed and sort of not exposed, and it's nice to see him coming down off some of the, you know, shenanigans and drama and really being, you know, a little more vulnerable and open, and good for him. He really is a cute guy. He's I mean, he's very good looking. They're all good looking.
Yeah.
And that's clearly not the only criteria.
That's just the part we're mentioning. That's all.
Well, yes, it is.
Yes. So do you think that Eric is going to make it to the final 3?
I do not.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's either Dean or Eric are going to be cut next week. And I think it really is going to hang on these hometown visits and how they handle, because actually Dean and Eric are the ones that have difficult relationships with their families. So I think Rachel probably will be looking to see how do they handle this difficulty with their parents with her around, you know?
Right. I think it's going to be those two. I think they're going to be out. I think they're too, aside from the family shenanigans, but I think they're too young and sort of not ready for what she's ready for. It would take years to get them sort of to the same level, even aside from the fact that women just mature faster than men emotionally, or so, you know, we've been taught. So I'm excited for the home visits. I really, really am excited for that.
Yeah, me too. And I think this is where, you know, I mean, you talked about some of the orchestrated scenarios in the show. Yeah, because I mean, how many times are you going to be driving a Bentley on one of the dates? I mean, so I think now we're getting to the part where it's more like real life. I mean, having dinner with someone's family, you know, and seeing their hometown, that kind of thing. It's going to really see, okay, can this fantasy relationship, whichever one, you know, she chooses, can it survive the test of real life? You know,
and we get to meet her family too, right?
What?
You get to meet her family too, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So, yeah. So that I'm looking forward to that when they meet.
I am
Yeah.
too.
And I wonder, actually, well, I guess Rachel, I mean, because she was on The Bachelor, so she has dated at least one white guy before, but I wonder, like, what is her type generally? I mean, has she kind of mixed it up, or, yeah, or maybe actually might have said that she generally dates Black men, so it'll be interesting seeing how open her family is to a man of another race, so.
Oh, it's going to be great. So that means what? There's like 3 more episodes left?
Probably.
4?
Yeah. I think it's probably just 3. Yeah. And there's probably an extra long episode. The last episode will be extra long. So there might even be 2. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
See. Yes.
So maybe, I mean, listen, if Rachel can find her husband in 12 dates, then I should be able to do the same.
Hello. Yes, actually, Dee Dee, you were supposed to be on your own Bachelorette quest. And yeah, so actually, maybe next week you need to report in, because I don't know what progress you've made, girl. You've been slipping.
No, I actually went out on 3 dates, I think.
Oh.
With the same person. One with someone I just had a coffee with. And I was talking to another guy, and we just didn't connect, and I need to sort of circle back about that. But I felt like I was on fire for 1 week, and now the fire's been put out. The flames have been put out.
It's still simmering. It's still simmering over there.
I got a little distracted with like work stuff, but you know how these things go. I'm excited about it, going in, and then it just sort of peters out because I'm not really excited about the person that I am meeting or
Right.
hence no third date.
Right. Well, yeah. If you don't know, then don't bother going. So yeah, exactly. Well, that is all we have for this week. So we'll see you next week for episode 8. Thank you for watching. Please visit us on the spinstersunion.com. Subscribe to our channel below. Comment. Visit us on social media. We're on Spinsters Union everywhere. Say hello. Bye.
Bye.